So one of the last main pieces of detail that we need to put in here is going to be just this little bit of an awning and a little bit at the front door here. So what I'm going to do is I'll start off by building the roof section to begin with. And if I pan out here, we can see that what we've basically got is I'm going to need to have that object and that object, and I'll isolate them. Notice that I use the isolate tool quite a bit as well. That's because it's really, really useful. And I'll just create a box a bit like that. Probably about that big. And in here, I'll just move it out. And then in my perspective view, I'll just unisolate everything. There we go. Now what I'm going to do with this is I'll convert it to an editable polygon. And I'll take the bottom set of vertices. Woo, easy tiger. I'll take the bottom set of vertices. Here we go. And I'll pull them out so that they are level with that part of the building. Just there. There we go. And then I'll take these. And I'll do that. And I'm going to take just a few moments here, and I'll take this edge here, and what I'm going to do is probably go into wireframe mode now, and I'm just going to pull that so that it's flat. You don't want it like that, possibly so it's more like that actually, but what I definitely want is this edge, no, not that edge, this one. So come up bit like that. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect because we're not going to see it as such. And obviously my next point is I want to take these vertices here and I'll push those into the building slightly. And I'll take these vertices and push them into the building slightly. And then I'll take the whole object and I'll push that back a little bit. Applying a new material onto there. There we go. And we'll just check and make sure that kind of matches up, which it sort of does. So I think what I'm going to need to do is in this view, let's just see here. I think that's probably more like it there. And then I'm going to take this little section and I'm going to extrude that down because that comes to about there. Okay, so it all becomes a lot more obvious if we start to take out these splines and these shapes. See, it's a lot more obvious. There's a little porch at the front there and it just goes up. Now you could have that flat. I've not done that flat. I've done it with a sort of a slopey roof inside there. But it's, you know, it depends. You probably have to go back to the architect and talk to them about it. What I'm now going to say is that I'm going to isolate everything bar this front piece of detail here. Okay. And, oh, sorry about that. What I'm now going to do is just draw the shapes. So that's still the perspective view. This is a view I wanted. Okay, and I'm going to draw the detail around here. Okay, so I'm going to say line, corner and corner. I'm going to go there. Press and hold the shift key, so I've got a flat line. I'm going to go there. Then I'm going to go there. There. There and there. Coming to my line itself, I'll grab these 4 vertices and I'll right click and I'll convert them to Bezier corners. Now because I want to be able to control this, I'm going to say my interpolation should be adaptive, and I'm going to click in here so I can actually move these in X and Y at the same time. and I'm going to make these splines match up. There we go. So just take a little bit of time and effort to do that. Let's move this over. Let's move this down. And, oh, again, we'll move X and Y. And again, we'll move this handle here. There we go. So that's the shape I'm looking for. We'll grab that and then I'll outline it. Oh, there we go. So you can guess that I'm going to extrude that a little bit later on. Maybe I'll come in and I'll just tweak one or two of these pieces. Like this is really obviously wrong. Just there. Pull that up, bring it in a little bit. There we go. Just check the other side as well. It's not perfect, but it's within tolerance of what I would be willing to accept. There we go. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'll create another line as a separate entity, corner and corner. And what I'll do is with this line, I'll take the segment and I'm going to shift and drag a copy of that segment. So what's happening here is it's remaining as the same object. I am not copying a separate object or creating separate objects here. What I'm doing is I'm taking a segment of an object and I'm cloning that segment. The fact that none of the sides actually touch any other part of the object is neither here nor there as far as we're concerned. Okay, because it's going to make our life a whole lot easier in a few more minutes. Again, there's no easy way of doing this. I'm not going to try creating an array, because if you try and do things like that, you're going to come a cropper. Always with this kind of work, it's this type of thing, and just taking your time and effort in doing this that really sort of pays dividends with the results that you get. Taking the shortcuts, I've seen people do it time and time again. All that happens is they end up banging their head against the wall because they've taken a shortcut, it doesn't work, they've spent ages doing it, and then they need to go back and start again. Of course, I would never point that out to them, but there we go. So here we are, nearly finished. Nearly finished. Alright, there we go. So I'll take some of these vertices, and I'll pull that one up there, and I'll pull that one up there, and I'll pull this one up here, and then I can take all of these and I think all of those, pull them up there, take this one, pull it all the way up there, take that, pull it all the way up there. So no real surprises. What I'm going to do next, which will be to select all of the splines in that piece of work, go to outline, and oh look, I can outline them all in one go, and they're all perfect and they're all exact. So that's all good and well. Let's come to W here, let's grab both of those sections, pull them out so they're just in front of the building slightly. And what I'm now going to do is we'll zoom extents on all of those. I'm now going to apply the same extrude modifier to them. So I'm going to say extrude, and really that's a little bit much. Let's just make it 100, shall we? There we go. Right, so we'll start off with 100, maybe make that a little bit deeper, 200. Segments, 1 is fine. Now what I'd actually like to do as well is I'm going to make this unique, and I'm going to make that a little bit fatter so that those pegs can sit in between it, and just to make that a bit more obvious for you, let's apply our bog standard material. So there you go. That's really what I was looking for with that piece of detailing. So I'll take both of those objects and I'll pull them back to about here. And this is where I need to double check with what I've got as my roof section. You can see that here should have happened is that all should have come down a little bit further. There we go. S W, and what I'm going to do with these is, again, these needed to come further back. Let's get ourselves in a good position there. So we'll just go with the move tool, and let's see. Aha. That's why I couldn't see it, because the pivot point was right over on the right hand side there. So we'll pull that in line with our roof as best we can, maybe back a little bit further, just fractionally. There we go. And I'm actually just going to take this polygon there and I'm going to pull it down so that it intersects. Really, again, this is just so that things match up. It's nice to have things matching up because they look all nice and neat. So there we go. Nice bit of detail going on in there. Okay. Now, there's also what looks like a post with a round ball holding up this bit of detailing here. Ah, now that's interesting. That's very interesting because look at this. Let's just hide our shapes for a moment. What I've noticed is I might be completely out with that door. Let's just unhide the shapes. And gosh and golly, I am. Look at that. Okay, so here we go. We've got a couple of decisions to make here. I think the sensible one is to correct the house and the shape of the house. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to grab all of these vertices up to there and I'm going to pull them along to here. So this is going to be a bit of a painful process, especially if you made the same mistake as me. I am going to select only geometry. I'll select these windows here and we'll make sure that everything gets moved along correctly. There we go. We're literally just shuffling stuff about now. Now what I'm going to do is I'll select that. Now I am selecting these as kind of like a one at a time thing. You can do marquee selections, obviously. Other methods of selection are available. We'll do move again and I'll move that just so that it lines up there now. That's good, that's better. Right, and we'll take, I'm going to change my selection method to that one. There we go, and we'll take this. I'll just shuffle that in. I think just slightly. I'm actually going to keep that. Actually no, because it's meant to be like that. So we'll do that. And our building. That building. Here, I'm going to take all of the vertices on that side and I'm just going to pull them in. A little bit more just there. There we go. So while I'm at it, let's just check all the vertices on this side of the house. And they were all meant to be there, which they are. Okay, so now everything lines back up again properly. Gosh, that was really rather quite silly of me, wasn't it? Let's check this in 3D just briefly. Yeah, okay, I'm kind of happy with that. I'm not so sure about that sticking out of there, but we might be able to have a look at that a bit later. My inclination with that is to actually look at this and say, oh well, actually, yeah, that extrude. Which way was the extrude? Oh, you swine. What I'm going to do is I'll convert that to an editable polygon. Kind of takes away a little bit of the flexibility that I had with it, but it will just mean that I can solve this problem really quickly, really easily, and without any fuss. There we go. And I'll do the same over on this side, where I'll convert that to an editable polygon. And I'll just move this around. You can see I'm really just moving points about, and it comes back to a sort of a thing I talk about when I'm teaching, and that's this whole idea about push, pull and poke, and that's really all you're doing when you're working like this. You're just pushing, pulling and poking vertices about. There we go. Just take those and shuffle them back in a little bit more. Maybe what I'll do is just with those end vertices, these were protruding a little bit further than perhaps I'd like them to be. There we go. Okie dokie. God, that was all a bit of a stress at the end there. So moving on, we need to get the detail in the front here as well. So again, I'll come back and I'll select all. I'll select this and I'll isolate it. And I'm going to start by creating a box about here. We'll look at that in 4 views. Make this front. And let's view there we go, that's better. Right, now, wireframe mode. I want to convert this to an editable polygon, and again we are just going to move these vertices around. The whole time all I'm doing here with modeling is just moving vertices around. It's not difficult, it's not hard. I'm going to pull these out to make that look a little bit squarer, and then I'm going to grab this face here and I'm going to extrude up slightly. Yep, in fact that'll do. And then I'm going to bevel. Now bevel, what we do is we make a height like that, and then we do an inline on a mount, and that's over the whole thing. So we've got a nice even look and feel to that. Now I'm going to do an extrude again. Now I'm going to do another bevel. It's keeping the same settings. Don't even have to think about this. It's fantastic. Now I'm going to do an extrude. Now that extrude, teeny tiny, so I'm going to pull this all the way up here so we get all the way to there. Okay, so that's my base object. What I'm now going to do is to create a extended primitive, which is going to be a capsule. There we go. So I'll just create a little bit of a capsule there and pull it up, and in this view I'll place my capsule. Now this is the cunning bit. I'm going to place it about there, and I'm going to reduce my radius so that the radius matches what we've got. Oh, so the radius matches what we've got in the drawing. Now I know this is flat, so what I can always do is I can always reduce the number of centers. But you know what? I think I'm going to make that all nice and smooth because I like the idea of that being smooth. I think that'll look quite cool. What I'm also going to do is reduce the height. So let's come down with our height. So again, that's about right. Now, each one of these is going to have to sit with its center aligned with that corner. So now I've got one, I'm going to convert that to an editable polygon, and I'll shift and I'll make, oh, come here. I'll shift just in the X and make a copy over there, and then I'll take these two and I'll shift and I'll make copies up here. Okay, so moving back to our 3D view, to make this easier for us to all see, I'll put a default material onto that, and I'm now going to convert it to be a compound object. I'm going to say pro boolean, I'll say start picking, and what I'll do is I'll just pick, oh, I'll just pick these objects here. Now that's interesting. Convert to editable polygon. I think I know what I did. I think I picked the spline by mistake. Let's just say that I can only pick geometry. That would explain an awful lot. Start picking, pick that, and pick that. Yes, you see, I obviously picked the spline, which is why the whole thing disappeared and then refused to play ball with me. Right, so that's a lovely piece of detail that we've got there. Even if we take that off, you can see beautifully sculpted. I really like that. And if I exit my isolation mode and I go and hide these pesky shapes, if I take this and I now put that back into position, so we're getting a little bit harder to control everything now. See, I'm spending more and more time just... There we go. So, lovely little piece of detail in there. I really, oops, really like that. Let's come back and view the whole thing. Really beginning to like the look of what we're seeing here. It's beginning to look like a really nice house. I'm quite pleased with that. So, couple more bits of detail, just to make sure of. I need to make sure that this object here, show me my end result. Oh, where did that go? Ah, I have, of course, hidden shapes. My vertex lines here, I need to make sure that they just intersect. There we go, and I need to make sure that this intersects as well. There we go, that's that sorted. And I think we've got a circle. I think that's probably a sphere, to be honest with you. And I couldn't bet as to whether that sits. It looks like it sits on a, almost like a plinth, but I'm not entirely sure about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to improvise slightly. Where are we? Let's zoom in on this section here. And I'm going to create a standard sphere. And I'll do it in the edge mode. So what I'll do is I'll go from that edge up to there. A little bit of a cheat, I know, but there you go. It's nice and simple again. It's the easiest way I can think of solving the problem. And we'll zoom in on it in our perspective view. And we'll bring that back so it sits just under here. Now, I reckon that we could get away with just putting a box in under here. I know it sounds really lame, but I think just a little thing like that came up. And what I'll do is I'll just reposition it here. In fact, you know what? I'm going to make that just a little pillar. Let's take this length. No, I want the height. No, it's the width. Get there in the end, won't we? We'll make this square, so we'll make it 700 by 700. There we go. And I'll get the height right. So we'll just click there and make the height what it should be. Move that along so it sits underneath. Get the height, as I say, perfect. There we go. So just fiddling around with that. There we go. I think that's probably about as good as I'm going to get it for the moment. What I might do is, we're moving in X. There we go, that's better. Right, not strictly correct, but it's difficult to tell with that drawing, and without having the architect here to be able to speak to, I'm personally going to say, well, improvisation is okay. We'll shift and we'll drag that across to the other side, where it should hopefully even up. There we go, hide our shapes again. All looking very interesting. If we need to, we can always move that across. I mean, I think, in actual fact, looking at it, it does look a little bit odd. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'll move that so that's more on the edge there. And I'll convert this to an edit poly. And I'll take that face and pull it in there. Now that looks even stranger to me, but you know, who am I to argue? You could always put your shoes by the side of there, couldn't you? So editable polygon again, click on that and just pull that into there. There we go. So now they match. Again, house is beginning to look really, really good now. Feel quite pleased with that. Maybe I'll just take that back fractionally. There we go. One thing we will need to do is we'll need to do another roof section on here. So let's isolate that and we'll view that in our 4 views here. So we've got line again, corner and corner, and we'll do just that. And I will select by segment. There you go. So this is obviously something that we do quite a bit of. I will divide that 8 times. Maybe 10. Maybe 10 I think will be better. There we go. And we'll go for vertex and we'll take all of these vertices and we're going to chamfer them. And we're going to right click and convert all of them to corner. So we'll click and we'll click and we'll keep clicking. And we'll keep clicking away. There we go. So we've got all of those selected. And what I'll do is I'll just do that. Go to spline. We'll outline. There we go. Now I'll unisolate that. And we'll come here and I'll put a extrude modifier onto that. There we go. So I'll put that right into the wall. Boom, boom, boom. And here we go. Let's pull this just back. And then I'll put standard material on it. So there you go. There's that. So we're very, very nearly done. What we're going to do is, in the next video, I'm going to just finish this model off by putting the guttering on and finishing off 1 or 2 bits up around here.